Shalom Chaverim. Today, Parashat Balak, the Torah portion of Balak, which is a Torah portion that has lots of miracles in it. So we are going to talk about miracles today. And we're going to do it actually by talking also about pragmatism. And who else to talk about pragmatism with other than William James? So a little bit about William James. He was born in 1842 and died in 1910, and is actually considered as not just a philosopher, but also as the father of psychology. In fact, he was the first scholar to offer a psychology course, and he did it in Harvard University in 1875. But in his philosophical writings, he made contributions in epistemology. And really, his philosophy centers around what is known as pragmatism. And pragmatism, in a sense, dives into the definitions of truth. And what James is saying is that something is true only when it is useful. That is really just saying it in one sentence, hence pragmatism. And so here there are books, probably if you are interested in that type of philosophy, that you should go to. These are again taken from Central Library here in downtown LA. And so here, he writes, pragmatism asks its usual question. Grant an idea or belief to be true. It says, what concrete difference will its being true make in any one actual life? What experience may be different from those which would obtain if the belief were false? How will the truth be realized? What, in short, is the truth cash value in experiential terms? So as you can see, this is all utilitarian. So truth is only something that we can apply, is something that is useful for us, and he actually uses the term cash value. For that, he received a lot of criticism, especially from European continental philosophers. Oh, these American philosophers, everything comes in capitalist terms. Of course, truth is all about cash value, but this is not what he meant. He just meant it in the way of being useful. But we're going to dive more into James's philosophy later. For now, let's look at miracles. Okay, and let's look at miracles in our Torah portion. So our Torah portion, Balak. Balak is named after Balak ben Tzipor, who was the king of Moab. And the king of Moab saw that the Israelites were really, really successful in all of their conquests, and he was really, really afraid that he is going to be conquered as well. So he asked for the help of Bilam, and Bilam was basically a non-Jewish prophet, which is really strange. I'm not going to get into it now, but he was a very good prophet. And he told him, here, I want to ask something of you. I want you to curse Israel so they will not conquer me. And then God appeared to Bilam and said, no, you are not going to do it. But Balak was very insistent, and he sent messenger and he offered bribes. And eventually God told Bilam, you know what? You can go, but wait for instructions. Do what I tell you. So Bilam goes on his way to Balak to curse the Israelites. And suddenly his donkey, his she-donkey, freezes, doesn't move, stands in his way. So he starts striking her, move, and she doesn't move. And then, and I'm going to quote from the Parashah, says, ויפתח אדוני את פי האתון, ותאמר לבלעם, מה עשיתי לך כי הכיתני זה 3 רגלים? What it means is then God opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have beaten me 3 times? And then God also opens Bilam's eyes, and he sees that in fact there's an angel holding a sword right in front of the donkey, and this is why the donkey doesn't move. Eventually, Bilam gets to Balak, and he indeed goes to curse the Israelites. But what happens is that whenever he opens his mouth to curse the Israelites, a blessing comes out instead. So this is just the story in our portion. But what's really, really important here is that the miracle here is really, really profound. And why? Conversations between people and God in the Torah are very common. Different forms of revelation, very common in the Torah. But a speaking animal is not. That is a complete breaking with the law of nature. And so, in Jewish tradition, let's explore a little bit how the Mishnah, as well as some philosophers, perceive miracles. So first of all, the Mishnah. Okay, so the Mishnah is saying, and this is really fascinating, 10 דברים נבראו בערב שבת בין השמשות, ואלו הן פי הארץ ופי הבאר ופי האתון, והקשת והמן והמטה והשמיר והכתב והמכתב והלוחות, ויש אומרים אף המזיקין וגבורתו של משה, ואלו של אברהם אבינו, ויש אומרים אף צבת בצבת עשויה. Okay, I'm going to translate it, but also I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation about it. And that explanation that I'm giving you is come from Bartenura. So, 10 things were created on the eve of the Shabbat at twilight. Okay, Ben Hashmashot, it means at twilight. And these are they. 1, the mouth of the earth. Bartenura say what is the mouth of the earth is the actual mouth of the earth that opened to swallow Korach and his people. We talked about it last time. 2, the mouth of the well. So this is the well that followed the Israelites in the desert so they could always have water. 3, the mouth of the donkey. This is from our Parashah. 4, the rainbow from Noah's story when the flood has ended and the rainbow appeared. 5, the manna, the man that fell from the sky. 6, the staff of Moses. Now, the staff of Moses is basically refers to all the miracles of the Exodus. So starting with the snakes and the plagues and the splitting of the Red Sea, anything that was done with the staff was those miracles. The Shamir, this is actually Tanakh. This is basically this type of it was type of a helper that to break the bricks that made the holy temple, which was miraculous. The writing and the tablets, so that's basically the Torah and that was given to Moses in Sinai. So these are the miracles that are specified. This pretty much sums up most of the miracles that are in the Torah, and they were creating at that twilight, at Ben Hashmashot. Now, there is a really, really great machloket, a really great dispute between two huge Jewish thinkers about the perception of miracles, and they are the complete opposite. The first one is the rational one, who is, of course, Maimonides, the Rambam, and he has the rationalist approach to miracles. And in Guide for the Perplexed, basically what the Rambam explains is that miracles were created with creation, in the time of creation, as a part of nature. Okay? So it's kind of hard to understand, but it's basically think about it as if God created the universe, part of the laws of the universe that were created was that at some point the Red Sea will split. It was inherent in the design that was to follow. So it was basically a part of nature. Here we have Rambam, Moreh Nevuchim, Eder Nister. This is the Hebrew, but there's also some copies in English that obviously I always refer to this book. It's one of the biggest works of Jewish philosophy to ever written, and it's one of my personal favorite. Okay, so the Maharal of Prague has the complete opposite approach. So the Maharal is saying, no, the miracles come to break the laws of nature to show God's superiority. Only when the laws of nature break, you can see and feel God's superiority and providence in the world. So this machloket is basically a big dispute. Okay, so now let's go back to general philosophy. What's so fascinating is that in general philosophy, there's also kind of like the same dispute that we're talking about. We have the rationalist philosophers, such as René Descartes and Leibniz, that basically assume absolute truth. So basically, they assume absolute truth about the world that they deduce from logic. Okay, so for example, let's take Descartes' cogito, right? I think, therefore I am. Reason would tell me that I exist. So if we use logic, we can reach absolute truths about the world. But then on the other end of the rationalists, you have the skeptics. You have the skeptics such as David Hume, and by the way, William James is, of course, kind of like a continuation of that skepticism that basically is saying, no, there are no absolute truths. Truth is only something that, in the case of James, I can experience or can useful to me. Otherwise, I cannot assume any truth about the world. And I'll give you an example. So I hold this book, okay? So according to William James, right, I hold this book and I can say something like, this book is always soft until it comes in contact with something. Okay? So obviously, I can only feel a book when I come in contact with it. So it will always be hard. But it may be true that the book otherwise is always soft, right? So this is something that we can actually use logic for. But pragmatism takes it a step further and says, but is the idea that the book is soft useful to me in any way? Not really. Right? I mean, if we actually take the scientific explanation of what makes up a book, we can construct bookcases. For example, it's much more useful to me and therefore it's true. But it is not true because I know 100% that it is true, because I have no way of knowing it. It is true because the book stacks and it's useful for me to follow the scientific explanation. Okay. So this is William James. Now, let's get back to our miracles. And this is where it gets a little bit of mind-blowing to me. And this comes from a brilliant Israeli-French rabbi named Rabbi Uri Cherki. And what Cherki explains is that, first of all, what is Ben Hashmashot? What is that twilight in which the miracles happen? So Ben Hashmashot refers to the moment before Shabbat enters, right? So when we light Shabbat candles, there are 20 minutes in which the sun has already set. We don't see the sun in the sky anymore, but there's still light, right? We all know that magical blue light. That light is Ben Hashmashot. And it's no longer the 6 days of work, but it's still not yet Shabbat. It's that twilight. So what Cherki says is that the miracles were created between the 6th and the 7th day. Meaning, and bear with me, in the 6 days when God created the world, nothing was certain. God was shifting and molding the world and intervening in it, and the world was in a constant state of flux. There was no absolute truth because there was no one to experience it. So it was the world of William James. It was the world where everything was possible. But then on the 7th day, God rested. And what is that rest? Rest is finally that the laws of nature have settled. That's the world of Leibniz and Descartes. That's the world of absolute truth, is the Shabbat. So, if you follow this, miracles are only possible when the world of William James meets the world of Descartes, where basically there are no laws of nature, so everything is possible, but they appear in the natural world. So this is how Cherki explained this. And if we look at it from a halachic point of view, we are, all of us, according to some Jewish thoughts, we all still live in the 7th day. We all live inside that Shabbat. And the Shabbat, this Shabbat, lasts 6,000 years. We are actually approaching the end of it, and some believe that after the year 6,000 we will get to the 8th day. And so if we are in the Shabbat, if everything that around us, we live in that 7th day, when God performed miracle, what he in fact did is desecrating the Shabbat. And what our halakha tells us is when is the only time when it is allowed to desecrate the Shabbat is pikuach nefesh. So miracles were created in our history only where God realized that the plan or that history is going in a very wrong direction. That was his pikuach nefesh. So to conclude, these Ben Hashmashot, these 20 minutes, tonight, next week, whenever you're watching it, if you do light the Shabbat candles, if you catch that magical moment, those 20 minutes on Friday night after the sun had set and when there's still light outside, just know that it might be a time where miracles are possible. And maybe use that time to wish for yourself, what do you want to break or change, or what miracle do you want to produce in your actual world, which is to follow. Shabbat Shalom.